Harry's Wife, part 68.8. Not my wedding, not interested. Lady Kitty Spencer recently got married. However, Harry and his wife didn't attend the wedding, despite the fact that Harry is a first cousin of the bride and didn't attend the high society wedding. Why might that be? Well, Hello offers some observations about this, alongside the general marshmallow fluff that it is renowned for. So, chuck buckets to the ready. We're going to wade through the article, and then I'll provide you with the analysis of what this article is trying to achieve, alongside the real reason why there was no attendance. The Hello article is written by Danielle Stacey, the online royal correspondent, and she writes, Lady Kitty Spencer tied the knot with businessman Michael Lewis in Rome on Saturday afternoon, and there were a number of high-profile guests in attendance, including Pixie Lott, Viscountess Emma Weymouth and Sabrina Elba. However, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, first cousins of the bride, were not among the attendees of the high society wedding. Given the fact that the couple have two young children, Archie, 2, and 1-month-old Lilibet, the flight from California to Italy might understandably be too far at this stage. The couple also revealed prior to Lilibet's birth that they were taking a long parental leave, no doubt to focus on their new family of 4. Prince Harry and his wife moved to the United States in 2020 after stepping back from royal duties. The Duke was reunited with his late mother's siblings, Charles Spencer, Lady Sarah McCorquodale, and Lady Jen Fellows at Princess Diana's statue unveiling at Kensington Palace earlier this year. Lady Kitty is the eldest child of Charles Spencer and his former wife Victoria Aitken. She attended Harry and Harry's wife's wedding at St. George's Chapel in Windsor in May 2018, alongside her siblings, Eliza and Louis, and their mother. Her appearance at the royal wedding catapulted Lady Kitty to the top of almost every best-dressed list, as she wore a stunning, hand-painted green Dolce & Gabbana dress. Her Instagram following also skyrocketed from 37,000 to a whopping 500,000 overnight. Lady Kitty reportedly had to delay her own nuptials to Michael due to the pandemic after they got engaged in 2019. On the topic of the future, she told Town & Country magazine in May, I just look forward to a really happy home life, a happy marriage and happy children, and I feel very at peace that things play out the way that they should. Lady Kitty's younger sister, Lady Amelia, also announced her engagement to long-term boyfriend Greg Mallard last year. In June, the couple revealed they will be removing from Cape Town to the United Kingdom. Well, all very interesting, I'm sure you'll agree, as we get that little bit of insight into the lives of people that we don't really know about and probably neither care about. But the point remains that Harry and Harry's wife didn't turn up. Now, why is that? Well, if it had really mattered, if Harry's wife's narcissism determined that attendance was entirely appropriate, then attendance would have taken place. The children would have been placed with a nanny. I'm sure there's plenty of rooms alongside the 27,000 flushing toilets at the mansion in Monty Shit Show. They would be placed with the nanny, and Harry and his wife would have schlepped across the Atlantic and turned up to join the high society wedding in Rome. But they didn't. And the reason that they didn't do so was because the narcissism dictated that it wasn't necessary. They were probably invited, however, the narcissism dictated that it wasn't appropriate to hoover the bride by a personal attendance. This primarily would have been based upon the fact that the narcissism perceived that little would be gained by attendance. All eyes would be on somebody else, and not the host, i.e. the narcissist. And therefore, this would pose a risk of wounding. Whilst, of course, there'd be opportunities to garner fuel by interactions with other guests, the opportunity to extend the facade, the narcissism selected that it wasn't appropriate to make the attendance at the wedding quite simply because it wasn't about the narcissist, it was about somebody else. And this is a frequent occurrence with our kind, that where we are invited to certain events, we don't turn up. The reason being, our narcissism dictates that it wasn't necessary to do so. We can assert control by remaining in a position of withdrawal. The fact that we were invited demonstrates that the person who has invited us is under control, and it provided a small amount of fuel. The written invitation of itself is fuel. A very low amount, admittedly, but it still is, because it's a positive gesture. Accordingly, the narcissist has been invited to an event. This demonstrates control and the provision of fuel. But when the event actually occurs, and the individual comes back upon the radar, the narcissism asks, is this individual under control? We may not have any information about the individual. Remember, this is all going on in the unconscious. And therefore, the narcissism dictates, okay, is it worth applying the direct assertion of control, i.e. turning up? Well, one of the questions that the narcissism asks in the unconscious is, how easy is it to hoover? And if it involves making arrangements and travel, dependent on the other factors, there's a good chance that the hoover won't happen. Remember, our narcissism causes us to operate in an efficient and effective manner. It has to ensure that, in effect, the narcissist always has something in the tank, because for most narcissists, it doesn't know what's going to necessarily come next. And therefore, by adopting an efficient path of least resistance approach to day-to-day interactions, this keeps and preserves the narcissist's energy, so that if an emergency occurs with regard to the necessity of expending more energy to gain fuel and nullify a threat, it will be there, and thus avoids a fuel crisis. The narcissism operates in a very effective and efficient way when it comes to the pursuit of the prime aims. Of course, as I've explained elsewhere, there may be considerable collateral consequences, but that isn't the concern of the narcissism when it comes to an unaware narcissist. It's about control in the moment, gathering the fuel, and also potentially character traits and residual benefits. So what it does is, the narcissism operates in a way whereby it looks to achieve the prime aims as quickly and as efficiently and in as low energy manner as it possibly can. Because it wants to do that to preserve energy, because the necessity of the assertion of control and drawing of fuel is near constant. So it can't go hell for leather at the beginning of the day, because that could then leave the narcissist depleted of energy later in the day, and therefore control wouldn't be obtained, fuel wouldn't be obtained, and that would mean that the narcissist would head towards a fuel crisis. So the narcissism in the moment always operates in an efficient and effective manner. And therefore, when it comes to that first question of, should a direct hoover take place, one of the key considerations is, how easy or how difficult is it for that hoover to take place? Of course, there are other considerations, such as, what is the position of the person in the fuel matrix? Are they low down or high up? What's their fuel provision like? Will we get other things from them, character traits and residual benefits? Has that person wounded the narcissist? And if they did so, was it recent and how extensive was that wounding? Is the narcissist with somebody else that would make matters difficult? Is the target with somebody else that would make matters difficult? Is the target utilising a restraining order, for example? And there's lots of other factors. Some mean it's more likely that a hoover will take place, some mean it's less likely. In this instance, Harry's wife's narcissism determined that because it wasn't about her, that the benefits that would be gained from attendance were outweighed by the difficulties posed by attendance getting there and everything else, the appropriate thing was not to turn up. Now notice the difference here with a non-narcissist. A non-narcissist is more likely to turn up because of emotional empathy, because you have a sense of obligation. You've been invited to an event which you've said yes, and therefore you feel obliged, your strong moral compass, your honesty and your decency, to turn up. Those empathic traits regulate your behaviour so that having accepted an invitation in the first place, you will go. It also causes you to make the effort to try and ensure that you can go so that you can accept it, perhaps moving something that's already in place, making arrangements to have your children looked after so that you can attend. You have a sense of obligation towards the person that has invited you. You want to go. It'll be an enjoyable occasion. But also your emotional empathy as a non-narcissist governs your behaviour to cause you to behave in a particular way where you look to attend, and once you say that you do, you turn up. That's absent from us. We don't operate under a sense of obligation. Indeed, a sense of obligation threatens our sense of control because it shackles us. So similarly here for Harry's wife, when it came to the actual event itself, her narcissism basically decided, no point attending because it's not all about our narcissist, it's an effort to get there, and what we will do is, if anybody asks, we can utilise the excuse, and that's what it is, the excuse of we're on parental leave, from what I'm not sure, you have to have a proper job ordinarily to do that, and the fact that they have 2 young children. Now of course that has plausibility, because with 2 young children, you wouldn't necessarily want to be leaving them alone or certainly taking them on an excursion across the sea. And therefore it does create plausibility. With a non-narcissist who declined an invitation to say, well, unfortunately, we haven't got anybody to look after the children and it's too far to bring them, that is the genuine explanation. When you're dealing with a narcissist, what appears to be a genuine explanation is just a convenient excuse rolled out by the narcissism. Again, it will harness certain things which are the majority perspective truth. In other times it'll be a half-truth, and sometimes it's nowhere near the truth. So a narcissist may say that they weren't able to attend because unfortunately their pasta collection fell off the shelf and it had to be put back together, which is a complete load of bullshit. But it's rolled out by the narcissism as an apparent quite simply, there was no interest in attendance because the narcissism dictated that the prime aims could not be gained by attending, and part of them could be obtained by not attending. Quite simply, because it wasn't about the narcissist, then there was no need to attend. There's no sense of obligation, notwithstanding the familial connection, and therefore the excuses that I've explained are used as a plausible reason for not attending. This is something that you will have witnessed many, many occasions, whether it's a failure to turn up for a date, a failure to attend a birthday celebration, a failure to come to a wedding. Where the narcissist does attend, invariably they make it all about them, causing a scene, causing drama, gossiping to guests, etc. But often the narcissist won't turn up. Why? No emotional empathy, no sense of accountability, acting out of a sense of entitlement, basically focused elsewhere, and even if the narcissist has said yes to the fact that they are going to attend, there's no guilt, no remorse, no conscience that causes them to think, actually, I ought to attend, oughtn't I? No, we do what serves our interests, namely the prime aims of fuel and control, character traits and residual benefits. And therefore, when Lady Kitty Spencer came up on the radar, Harry's wife's narcissism assessed, can we assert control over her directly? No, basically too much hard work. Can we do so indirectly? Possibly. Can we do so by staying in a position of withdrawal? Yes, we decide that we're not going to go, and if anybody asks, we proffer the excuse appertaining to the children and the distance involved in travel. That looks plausible, that'll keep people happy. But remember, because you're dealing with a narcissist, the genuine reason is based on the prime aims. Everything that we do, everything that we don't do, everything that we say, everything that we don't say is linked to the pursuit of the prime aims. Far too often people, of course, look at it from their own worldview and transpose their worldview onto the behaviour of the narcissist and try and understand the narcissist's behaviour through the non-narcissist perspective. Understandable, but wrong. Where you want to understand why the narcissist has done or not done something, look at it through the lens of the narcissist and ask yourself, what was it of the prime aims that this action or inaction sought to achieve? Therein lies your answer. And of course, if you are befuddled by your own worldview and of course the attendant emotional thinking, that's where I come in. The expert, objective, unaffected by emotional thinking, able to unravel and decipher it all for you. Utilise my expertise to your benefit. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.